Hey, welcome to World Warriors of Capcom Cup Player Showcase. I'm Ultra David.
And I'm James Chen. It's the series of videos where we go over all 32 qualifiers of the Capcom Cup, which is going to take place on December 5th through 6th at the Sony PlayStation Experience in San Francisco. If you guys aren't familiar with the Capcom Pro Tour or the Capcom Cup, you can check this channel, youtube.com/Capcom Fighters TV. And we did a nice little intro video where we talk about everything Capcom Pro Tour. But we are here to talk about players.
That's right. And the one that we're going to talk about today is Tokido, Mad Catz Tokido.
That's right. One of the strongest players of fighting game history, in my opinion.
I think that's a pretty common sentiment. Yeah, I don't think that's just your opinion. A lot of people consider him among the greatest fighting game players of all time across a host of different games throughout the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Different sort of subgenres even. Just an extremely strong player in everything.
Yeah, I still remember there was one Evo tournament where I walked up to him. I think it was an Evo tournament, but he just walked up to me and he had 4 medals hanging around his neck because he had just won so many different games and at least gotten top 3 in so many different within fighting games too. Obviously there's a bunch of subgenres in fighting games. He's played them all.
Oh yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, he's recently taken off on all these games and he has focused purely on Ultra Street Fighter 4 now. It has become the main focus for him, and you can definitely see it paying off.
I agree with that, yeah. So, historically, as we said, Tokido, great in everything, but he has been considered mostly somebody who goes for the cheap stuff. And that has worked out very well for him, but typically he finds the cheapest stuff, he does it, and he's one of the people who comes up with it in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, good positioning, etc. But really what he's about is finding whatever that is and abusing it.
Yeah.
And in Street Fighter 4, that was the Akuma Vortex.
Right. Which basically he pretty much invented. In fact, we were told that in Japan it's just known as the Tokido Shiki.
Yeah.
It's literally just named after him.
So that's how he has always been. But you're right, in Ultra Street Fighter 4, as you said, he's just focusing on this now. You can really see, I think, the change in Tokido. It is a much more footsies-based, much more patient, very grounded now. Still with Akuma, but he's really making the character play differently than it has before.
So the Tokido Shiki, or the Vortex, sometimes people wonder what a vortex is for those people unfamiliar with it. It's basically a series of mix-ups that lead into the same mix-up again, right? So I gotta guess left or right, or I gotta guess throw, or all high or low, kind of all these things. And then they all lead into the same thing every time he hits you.
Yes.
So if he gets you every single time, then he just keeps up the same sequence and you're done. So Ultra Street Fighter 4, they introduced delayed wake up, which kind of put a wrinkle in a lot of Vortex characters' plans, right? So it's not even Akuma, Akuma. It's a few characters. And Tokido at first, when this game came out and the delayed wake up, he was like, wow, Akuma's really nerfed now.
Right. I
need to maybe learn something else. But then he really just said, no, you know what? I'm going to stick with this character. I'm going to learn I'm going to learn around this and not rely on this and really strengthen his game. And it's really paid off. It's really paid off. So
I'm really happy for him because there are situations now that he deals with so much better than before. And again, we're talking about one of the greatest players ever. For him to have improved in those ways in the space of a year and a half, I just think that's remarkable.
Yeah. You can see it even just in early 2015, you probably wouldn't have been able to tell.
No, it's been even in the last few months, I would say.
Right, and especially towards the end of the year. In fact, a tournament that he just won, Canada Cup, was probably the best that I've ever seen him play. His defense and his fundamentals were so on point in that tournament, and it was almost like I was watching a different player. There was something about it that was just at a level that I've never seen him do.
I'm with you. I mean, as far as his year so far, you know, it's not just Canada Cup that he did well at. He's had a lot of success. He got, let's see, South by Southwest, he got 4th. Red Bull Kumite 2nd.
That's right.
Hype Spotting 4 2nd. Double Elimination CPT Asia 5th. KVO XTSB 3rd. Stunfest 4th. FFM Rumble 4th. Southeast Asia Majors 2015 2nd. CEO 2015 9th, just outside. Evo 2015 5th.
Right, top 8. Yep.
Sino Duel 3rd. CPT Asia Shanghai Qualifier 3rd. And then, as you said, he won Canada Cup.
That's right.
Just recently.
And it's interesting, too, because he qualified for Capcom Cup through, which one was it?
Southeast Asia Majors.
Southeast Asia Majors, where he got second place to Mago.
Right.
He got second place to Mago twice. So the first time Mago qualified, second time he qualified because Mago had already qualified.
Yeah.
And despite that, when he won Canada Cup, and they did a little interview with him afterwards too, he was super emotional about it because he didn't feel like it was justified. It didn't feel like he basically said because he got in through that technicality, he didn't quite feel like he was really in there.
Right.
And so to finally take an event, especially one, because keep in mind, Canada Cup was one of the most stacked tournaments of the year. In fact, in North America.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the second most stacked tournament after Evolution.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and to have him to win that one, you could tell he was really emotional about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was an auto qualifier for the Capcom Cup, but since the top 4 people who placed in Canada Cup already all were qualified, it sort of didn't end up like that. But he did win what was effectively an auto qual, even though he was already in there.
Right.
So in all of these other videos where somebody wins an auto qual, we show that video where they qualified because we just thought that was fitting, even if it's not like the hypest match that they have all year. It's just, you know, we wanted to see how they actually got in.
Right, exactly.
So the one where Tokido gets in is him getting second place to Mago.
Right.
Which is, this is a good match, but, you know, we definitely wanted to highlight the Canada Cup Grand Finals against Fudo because, as you said, it's some of the best Street Fighter 4 that I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, and it just might be some of the best Street Fighter 4, period. I remember it was such a great match, and the fact that it's such a difference from what we had seen from Tokido all year long, it just felt like it was more appropriate to show this video, to analyze this video, to show how different he's been playing. Keep in mind that Tokido very much very technique based, and you know, like to hit a lot of buttons and, you know, kind of play this, you know, they call it set play. You know, have the set play. But when you watch this video, you're just going to see all sorts of moments where he's just sitting still, he's just playing very patient, making some really smart decisions.
Agreed.
So,
you want to hop in there?
Yeah, let's do it.
So it's the Grand Finals of Canada Cup versus Fudo. Now we're going to watch the second set so as to not take forever.
Right.
Essentially.
So Fudo actually came in losers bracket, and he reset the bracket.
Right.
In super close. It was 3-2.
Yeah.
Fudo
close.
reset it, and then we're going into the second bracket here. So let's take a look at this. There you see Tokido, the murder face,
on the left.
On the left. Yep.
And Fudo on the right.
Yep. And they're just gonna go right back into it. So
throughout the first set that these guys played, there was a really interesting set of mix-ups and decisions about that empty jump that Fudo likes to do at about half screen.
Right.
Right there. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that happen around that, so pay attention to that. But already you can see Tokido grounded, patient, he gets focused, but that's because he's throwing a fireball at a range where Akuma hadn't often before.
Right.
But it's important now to his game to do so.
You see him, so every time that after the jump, there's always that little mix up there, and he does go with that standing roundhouse a lot.
Well, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good button.
It is pretty good. Yeah, look at him playing patiently, just picking his moments. He's even down in life, and he doesn't feel like he needs to force anything. Yeah,
one of the things that I will say about Tokido is that normally what you see him do is a lot of jumping air fireballs, a lot of demon flips. He used to jump backwards air fireball like all the time. In fact, he had that infamous match with Infiltration at Evo
Yes.
Top 3, where it was just them jumping backwards,
The
throwing
Heat
air.
match.
Yeah.
I remember.
And but you can see here, he has barely jumped. He's barely done jump backwards. He's not giving up that space that he used to give all the time.
He did get pushed back. It's hard not to against Faye.
Oh, yeah.
But you're right. He didn't jump in. Neutral jumping, if nothing else. But most of the time, it was just grounded play. Roundhouses, fireballs, picking his spots. I mean, look where he's trying to stand just outside of. He's trying to whiff punish. He's trying to make something happen with roundhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just nice, patient stuff. No dragon punches, no panic teleports, nothing like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, he hasn't even touched any buttons.
Right.
He's just been walking back and forth and just kind of measuring it.
And you're right. That was a good 10 seconds with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Just positional stuff.
Yep. And so now, and you know, that's one of the things that Akuma does have. Very Evil Ryu, like, you know, once you do get hit. Oh, dude, that.
It's the timing on that, and it's the positioning.
Yeah.
At that range, historically, nobody expects Akuma to have a frame trap because he didn't before.
Right.
But with Far Stand Fierce being cancelable, he can move backwards to that degree and just make it work from a range that he didn't. And that's something that Tokido does a lot now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely one of the new tools that Akuma's gotten. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have mentioned, you know, Akuma did get nerfed. His jump air fire, backwards air fireball. Actually, any air fireball has a little bit more delay. And then, you know, the vortex is gone. But you can see that, again, Tokido's just not relying on it. And he'll throw out little elements of it here and there. It's still a good tactic.
Yeah, it's not bad, sure.
It's a great tactic. And if you can read whether they're going to delay wake up or not, then, you know, it'll still pay off. And you'll see a few moments where Tokido does get some vortex-like sequences. But the nice thing about it is, before, that was what he was reliant upon.
Yeah, that was what the whole game plan was looking for. Right. Now it's just if he finds a mix-up, that's great. But if not, we'll go back to playing footsies, which is what he's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's just trying to outrange Faye. He's trying to force Fudo into making a bad choice.
Mm-hmm. And it's this kind of fundamentals. I mean, this is what a lot of people call fundamentals.
Yeah.
You know, if you wonder what, every time you hear people mention, oh, he's got good fundamentals, whatever like that. It's really this kind of game that you're seeing played right now is this ground-based game. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of jumping, just really good footsies.
With punishing, yeah, this kind of stuff. Look at that. He spent all of that time, and he even had very little life to show for it, looking for one thing, playing patiently. It finally came.
Yep. And this is still probably one of the most tense endings to a round that I have seen in so long.
Yeah, you see him falling back into old situations, I think. But
and then Fudo gets through there with that super, oh my god, that was so ridiculous.
Yeah, you can see the crowd, right?
Yeah, it was like clutch moment after clutch moment here.
Yeah, but this is a good set.
But the thing about it is, I mean, the reason why I was bringing up the fundamentals thing is that fundamentals is something that you associate with a lot of players like Daigo Umehara or even Infiltration.
I think Fudo has
and
great
stuff
fundamentals.
Like that. Fudo, yes, one of the best fundamentals out of all the players. And Tokido, not necessarily known for that, but here he is. He's keeping up with Fudo.
Yeah, he's there now.
He's being able to match him, and it's just really, really strong play here. And okay, so there was a wake-up uppercut. Now, I will say one thing. In the first set, like I said, 3-2, right? 5 full games.
Yeah.
I don't think Tokido did a single wake-up uppercut. He relied on his defense. One of the things that we said is that he's blocking more, and that is definitely one of the things that you'll see is that he blocks more. He doesn't do as many wake-up uppercuts.
And even when he did the wake-up uppercut, it was jab. It wasn't the huge commitment of fierce.
Right. And another thing, too, is that Tokido used to also be a teleport monster. Like, he would just wake up and teleport away, like, constantly. Like, he would just be challenging you to chase down his teleport. And we have barely seen any teleports. No uppercuts.
Ooh, that's cool.
God, I don't know how that didn't.
I know, yeah.
But that's just the thing, is that Tokido is now relying on his own intelligence, his own strength to get himself out of those situations, as opposed to relying on, oh, look, I can teleport into Ultra 2 kind of things.
Oh, look at that. You see how he walked forward just slightly and found that down medium kick?
Yep.
That is such precise positioning to get that.
Especially against a Fei Long, and especially against a Fei Long being used by Fudo.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it occurred in the first set or the second set, but I know there is definitely some situation. Let's look at this. This is a perfect example right now. We've had like so many blocks, like no one's done damage yet, and everyone's attacking each other. But there were definitely some situations where Tokido gets knocked down, and on his wake up, you see him just block this like this kind of this flurry of attacks from Fudo.
Yeah, we've already seen some good blocks.
Yeah,
he hasn't taken the bait on counter hit setups, for example.
Ooh,
look at him now; he's just outranging.
And even though that throw whiffed, that was a change up on the empty jump from Fudo.
Yeah, it was gonna work. He just wasn't in range. Exactly.
Yeah, so then he switched to the low forward. Just
lots of cautious play, lots of grounded play still. And yeah, there it is. So if he finds the knockdown, fine. Time to go in, see if it works. If not, no big deal. This is the default right here. This is the bulk of the match. And it's no longer the downside, you know. It almost feels like he's doing better when he is playing a grounded game than if he goes in.
Yeah. One of the things that I like is that, you know, because he had that over-reliance on the Vortex before, I feel like he didn't really explore all of Akuma's tools as strongly, like all of his normal moves and stuff. But you can already see that he's using a lot more of the normal moves. He has a more precise use of that stand roundhouse. I just feel like we see a lot more interesting buttons out of him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, look, timer running out now.
Yeah, might as well play away. That worked out so well, and I love that Tokido did not do the quick get up right there.
Yes.
That's something that people are just accustomed to doing, right, in that situation. So good on him to keep his eye on the clock, keep his eye on the situation, and not do it.
Yeah, because that's just human reaction. You're just like, oh, get up. You know,
it's time to move.
Yeah. Especially since you can quick rise by pretty much touching any button, hitting any direction on the joystick.
You see how he walked back precisely to that spot?
Okay, see,
for the Dragon Punch?
Here's some Vortex right there. So if it works, go ahead and use it. Why not? And do you see that like fake jab into low forward? You know, not going in too hard, just playing this very solid game.
And he has great mix-ups with that neutral jump as well. Sometimes he throws at the fireball, sometimes he does not. Sometimes there's medium kick even. He really has all the options covered.
Yeah.
At that point, you even saw it. Fudo had crouching medium kick, right? He's looking for crouching medium kick. He has super there. Right. So Fudo didn't take the bait. He saw the medium kick whiff. he knows that Fudo's looking to walk up into that range.
So Tokido gave himself the nickname of the murder face. You can obviously see why. Yeah. Such a stark contrast with Fudo's expression.
I know.
But yeah, Tokido. It's like we said, he used to take advantage of a lot of game systems in order to win, as opposed to taking advantage of his own skill.
That fireball was so good. The spacing on it was amazing. It was a risk because Fudo could have jumped, but he just had to read that Fudo would not. And he's right. That happens very rarely at high level.
Yep, see, just blocking. After he blocked Fei Long, he just blocked, and Fei Long went for the frame trap and nothing. Oh, jeez, yeah, that far stand fierce. Every time I see it, it's...
Yeah, right? It's been like a year and a half, and I still feel the same way. Wow.
It's so nice. Nice for Akuma. Not nice for all of Akuma's enemies.
Right, yeah.
I mean, so if a lot of people don't understand why that's such a significant change, is that Stand Fierce in the Fireball has become a true block string. A lot of characters, you know, true block string off into Fireball is such a thing. So a lot of people always talk about Evil Ryu having low forward Fireball as a true block string.
Right. That is to say, if you block the Fierce or the medium kick, then you can't get out of the Fireball. Look, we've been talking about this post empty jump situation all the time. Fudo, this time, he expects something big from Tokido, but Tokido just is not giving that stuff to Fudo.
Right. But yeah, having Stand Fierce and the Fireball be a true block string is just really nice for him.
Just to have that combo option at that range is really good. Really good.
And it's interesting because we have seen in a lot of the situations, Tokido has just gotten pushed in the corner. This little positioning right now has been very common.
Yeah.
And the fact that Tokido has been able to survive out here in the corner in such a bad position. Being in the corner against Fei Long is not fun.
Right.
When he has precision on his rekkas and such like that, it's really hard to play this footsie game. Second wake-up uppercut that we saw from Tokido. So he had one success and one failure there. But you could tell Tokido realized he needed that momentum shifter because he was really... Fudo was doing really well in the corner that time.
Yeah, you know what? Tokido didn't spend too much on it either. There was no meter usage or anything like that. Right. No overcommitment.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Tokido has been in the corner a lot, and he's been able to survive really well. There you go. See the stand fierce fireball. Mm-hmm. It's just a perfect example right there. Nothing you can do in.
Oh, that's so... I can't believe he went for the overhead there. That's so sick.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Because Tokido has done stand roundhouse into low forward or stand roundhouse into all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, overhead response. Just confident that Tokido wasn't going to do anything. And like I said, I mean, I do think we're going to see it a couple of times pretty soon, but this whole time that he's been...
Good.
Yeah, that whiff punish. But this whole time, we have not seen Tokido do any teleports. And he used to be so teleport.
The only one that we've seen is after he went in with a focus, and then just to play it safe, he teleported. Right. That was it.
But it's just like in terms of like wake up defensive situations, it just hasn't happened a lot, and it's such a change in how he plays. And again, you know, like you mentioned, he's one of the best players on the planet ever.
Yeah.
And to even be able to talk about him on how much he's improved, it's just one of those things. It's what I feel like the Capcom Cup has kind of done to a lot of these players. You know, before it was like they could get by on what they were doing, but now, you know, with 125K on the line, you know, the improvement that we've seen in even some of the top players has been amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about Tokido here, other players even like Punko, for example.
Same there,
you know, another player that has improved so much recently.
I really like the challenges that Tokido uses in a lot of situations lately. You know, he's been willing to move forward. This is another big one. He's seen a lot of wake-up buttons from Fudo, and he took advantage of it before. He can do it again.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is he used to use a lot of air EX... Oh, there it is again.
So good. Yeah.
He used to use a lot of air EX fireballs. You've seen him do it a couple of times, right? But what you've noticed now is that he's learned a restraint to save his meter so that he can play him in that evil Ryu fashion. That
you know, he uses more meter on ground EX Fireball than he does on jump in EX Fireball. He used to be a shield on the way in, but now, since that's no longer so much the focus, now sort of mid-range game is more the focus.
Right.
That's what he spends bar on. I think that's a great adaptation.
Yeah, and on those hit confirms so he can maximize the damage.
Yep.
And what a jump back jab. I just liked how he always does that little fist thing. I think it's just because he's actually exercising his
cracking
hands,
knuckles. Oh, did you see that little walk forward after that? After the empty jump? Oh, I love those little
walk
mix-ups.
Forward, a little bit low strong. Caught him with that counter hit. And yeah, I mean,
it's match point right now. It's tournament point right now.
Right. And again, he really wants to win. And that's the first time Fudo's done a wake up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, seriously, we could do this whole video and analyze how great Fudo's playing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know, this is definitely like the two of them have both been playing ridiculous in this whole. And
I really like how in this game they both saved things until the last game. That was something that Fudo saved.
Mm-hmm. And so Tokido, you know, we talked about how much this event meant to him to want to win.
Yeah.
Fudo's already reset the bracket. He just lost another tournament point. And, you know, we've been talking about psychology for on a lot of these. So, gosh, you know, at this point, it might even feel like it's kind of slipping out of his hands, you know, slipping right through his fingers. But no, just stayed very focused, very calm. Wow, he just went for an over.
Yeah, that's something that he saved. He didn't do that until right now. Even though it didn't work, it's the first time.
Okay. Yeah, and he hasn't done a lot of uppercut FADs.
He didn't do that before.
And then he went for the throw. Oh, so sick.
I mean, not that these are new tricks or anything, but they just hadn't done them until now.
He hasn't showed them. He hasn't played those cards.
Yeah.
He hasn't showed his hand just quite yet.
You see him pumping for that? He expected the jump. Perfect read. And now it just feels like he has so much control. Yeah. Excellent. Oh, that's right.
Oh, what a way for this to go.
That's right. Especially now that psychology comes into play, having made such a misstep.
Oh, but block. Great block from Tokido.
It was patience that saved him. Then.
A lot of people would panic in that situation. There it is. And there you see the elation. Actually, not even elation, but almost relief.
Yeah, I think relief is a better word, yeah.
From Tokido.
Yeah, you see him here breathing out there. Yeah, that's relief.
That's really telling from someone who's had so much success. So much success that there's still this kind of relief from him winning this kind of event like this. So, yeah. Oh, man.
Well, it's because he's put in so much work, you know, and you can really see it in his gameplay. So I'm sure that if it hadn't worked out, if this change of style or sort of additions to his style hadn't worked, I think that, you know, might be sort of tough to deal with. So the fact that it did work, I understand the relief.
Yeah. And I mean, again, this is before he called himself the Murder Face.
Yeah.
He was actually just known as Dirty Tokido because he would abuse like Vega wall dives and Super Turbo. I remember when you know our anniversary edition was played at Evo. He abused Champion Edition Bison. You know, he didn't worry about it. He just found whatever It was always funny because there was always kind of like this rule in the fighting game community. It's like, is this character good? Did Tokido pick him? Okay, this character must be cheap. You know,
that's true. That's
kind
true.
of.
Remember in Cross Tekken when he picked up Dalsum in that game? Yeah, it was like, oh, Dalsum's cheap. Oh, okay.
Exactly. But you know, to see that he did take this Akuma character who did get his, you know, the Vortex, the Tokido Shiki nerfed, and to stick with the character. I mean, he even mentioned it in the interview as well at Canada Cup that he said, you know what, I had thought about changing characters. I thought about going maybe to Yun or something like that. I can't remember what character he mentioned, but, you know, he was like, you know what, no, I'm going to stay with this character. I know this character, and I'm going to use the fact that he's different to strengthen the other areas of my game. And in fact, in some interviews that he's had, he talked about that, you know, in some of the answers that he gave, that he talked about plugging the holes in some of his in his game, you know, and you can see it. And like I said, we did this match specifically because it was such a change, you know, not even like a drastic change, but the change was so subtle. But when you really pay attention to it, you can see why he won and see where his success is coming from.
Well, when it comes to Capcom Cup itself, what do you think about his potential there? Is there something in his way, do you think?
I mean, it's kind of interesting because previous to Canada Cup, you know, I just felt like, you know, Tokido was always a strong player, but he always seemed to, like, not quite make it. You know, like even this year, a lot of second places, it's a lot of top 8s at Evo.
That's
you know,
true.
I think he got second place at Evo one year.
A couple of top 3s.
Yeah. So I just felt like, you know, he was such a strong player, but I just felt like in the grand scheme of things, he wasn't quite... I didn't feel like he was the same kind of threat as maybe a Momochi or an Infiltration or something like that to take the event. Having seen Canada Cup now, I don't even know if... I can't even say that anymore.
No.
You know, so if you ask me, like, what's in his way... The only thing that I feel like they can get in his way is that you can see Tokido's an emotional guy. He is an emotional guy. If his emotions get the better of him and he gets nervous or something happens and he kind of reverts back to panic, teleport, lots of wake-up uppercut kind of Tokido, that could get in his way. But if he can keep playing how he's playing right now, I don't see why. I don't see anybody really, I feel like, you know, having an easy time against him.
The only thing I could think of that I'd be worried about for him is a few character matchups. I feel like Kuma is very, very strong, but that, like, all the characters, he has matchups that are problems for him. But some of those characters are not represented, at least as far as I know, at Capcom Cup. Maybe there will be counter picks or something like that, but we'll see. Other than that, I feel like he has a strong chance.
Yeah.
He really does, I think, to take the whole thing. And I don't feel like there's anything in particular that is a terrible barrier in that path. I have a lot of, you know, sort of strong faith in how Tokido will do it.
Right. I mean, one of the things that we've talked about a lot with players like Bon-Chan and Sagat, there's this kind of like marriage of player and character, and some of them work out so well. Fudo's another one that I know we've mentioned before.
Sure.
Fudo and Fei Long, just they fit together so well, right? I feel like Tokido now has kind of achieved that with Akuma. He was always really good. He was always kind of one with Akuma.
I was going to say that. I think he always has been, but Akuma was a different character before.
Right.
And he Tokido fit that character perfectly before, vice versa. And now that Akuma is a little bit more grounded, mid-rangey, Tokido has made the same change.
Exactly. He actually went along with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just made him a better player.
Agreed.
God, it's so weird to say a better player.
No, I know. He's been fantastic for
exactly.
15 years.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, a lot of people don't know this, but he's one of the first Japanese players to come to America and compete at EVOs.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I think he was even at B5 before EVO was called EVO.
That's so.
Yeah, and I mean, Evolution 2002, which was the first EVO, he won CVS too.
Yeah.
So he's been coming to the U.S. and has had success for long periods of time. And yeah, I mean, look, I'm just from a personal standpoint, Tokido's one of my favorite players. I've known him for so long.
Right.
I've known him for so long, and even when we first met him, his English was very good.
That's true.
So it was just, I've had lots of conversations with him. He's a super funny guy, and you can even see throughout the years. Obviously, there's a lot more. You're seeing a lot more of the personality from the Japanese players these days, but even all the way back then, Tokido...
He was always one with that.
Yeah, even in Evolution 2002, he had a pre-Tokido pose before he had the Akuma Raging Demon victory. He had a Tokido pose before then. Yeah. So always a really funny guy. So I'm super happy to see him here, and I expect him to do well.
I expect him to do well too. That is at the Capcom Cup, which will be on the weekend of December 5th through 6th in San Francisco at the PlayStation Experience.
That's right. So if you guys are in the neighborhood, or you're out there, please try to make it live. It is going to be an epic day, like 12 hours of Street Fighter, of Ultra Street Fighter 4 between some of the top players. Obviously, if you can't make it there, twitch.tv/Capcom Fighters is where you're going to be able to watch it on Twitch as well. And make sure just follow them on twitter.com/Capcom Fighters just so to keep up to date with everything Capcom Pro Tour.
And if you like talking about fighting games and analysis and all that juicy stuff, yeah, that's what I love, then join us on our own shows, which you can find at YouTube and Twitch/UltraChenTV.
Yep, we also have a lot of videos where we talk about advanced tactics, experimenting with new techniques and such, and a lot of beginner videos. And every Tuesday, like you said, we just kind of do a fighting game recap of what's been going on, the past tournaments, upcoming tournaments, the latest drama and talk in the fighting game community, game news, all sorts of things like that. So everything you want to know about the fighting game community.
Well, all right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at Capcom Cup.